So most people start with a very simple idea, which is they want to speak Spanish, right? Start studying the language without a plan, without really having expectations, timeline, what it's going to take to get there. And they find it's much longer and more difficult than expected, encounter some roadblocks, and then they quit. Very, very common outcome for many. And why does this happen? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. And the answer is that you need a framework. You need a way to think about it. You need to set proper expectations. And again, that's what we'll do in today's video. My name is Scott Bryan, and I spent a long time on this path as an adult, having learned the language, trying to gain fluency. And I went through that. I thought about it a lot. And I have come to the conclusion that there's a very clear and defined path to get there. And most importantly, more than just the path to get there, there is a framework, a set of pillars, if you will, that support your journey, your path to achieving said fluency, right? And to be clear, these pillars, it's not the path, it's not the sequence of steps to gain fluency, but rather, again, the support needed to get there. What's the path? Well, I've talked about this in some other videos. It's stages. There's a beginning, intermediate, advanced. A lot of people are aware of this path where you A1, A2 is where you start out as a beginner. You move from one stage to the next stage. B1, B2 are your intermediate stages. And then you get to the advanced levels of C1, proficient, and then C2 is near native fluency. That's a path defined by a set of stages in sequential order. What we're going to discuss in today's video is something very different. It's the supporting pillars, the foundational elements required to move across and achieve that fluency and go from one stage to the next. There are four of them, four pillars. It starts off with foundational study. That's along the lines of learning a language. Then we get into practice methodologies. It starts with translation practice. That migrates and moves into conversation practice. And then ultimately the fourth pillar is what we're all trying to achieve, which is actual dialogue with others. And again, we'll get into each one of those pillars, what they mean, and how it can be used to set expectations and set you on the right path on your journey to gain fluency. Okay, so now let's start stepping through the pillars, and we start with pillar number one, which is foundational study, right? This is the basis of all things learning the language, right? Whether you simply stop with attaining the skill of reading and writing, and you don't do anything regarding speaking or listening and the active elements of communication. This is the most basic level and most well-defined. Everybody knows what this is, and it's your traditional instruction in the classroom. That classroom could be, of course, online. It could be on a cell phone via language learning app. There's lots of different modalities for this foundational element, this pillar, but it is where everyone begins. And, oh, by the way, as I mentioned, with all these pillars, they're sequential in terms of when they begin, but their ending point may overlap with other pillars. So imagine that your study is primarily done up front to get you the basis and the groundwork for being able to speak and move down the path towards fluency. But it typically doesn't have a defined ending point. It continues. As you move through and you encounter these other supporting pillars on this path, this will continue. You will continually revisit this, and you'll be learning new elements and things, be it vocabulary, be it grammar, whatever. Bulk of it's done up front. This is pillar number one. Next, we move to pillar number two, translation practice. So this is a new idea for a lot of people. Most people are completely unaware of such a pillar, all right? But yet it's foundational. It is a natural and an important point from moving from foundational study on the path to speaking with fluency, con fluidez. It's what you're essentially doing in the translation practice pillar number 2, is taking sentences in English, thoughts, phrases. It's how we communicate. We start with an idea that we wish to express to others, and you translate it. You start in your native language, it's English for me, and you think about how might I say that same phrase in Spanish, and you say it, right? And there's a way to practice this. This is what's missing from 90% of the people who try to achieve some level of speaking fluency and ultimately fail. It's a starting point, right? You're taking this big thing called speech, breaking it into its component parts, which by the way are sentences, and you're doing these translations. You're rewiring the brain and how you think about expressing things. It's contextual. It's not words, it's not vocabulary in isolation, it's not exercises of grammar. It's putting it all together, and on an ongoing basis. This is a longer process in that it requires frequency. Like ideally it's a daily practice. You've moved from just knowledge acquisition in pillar 1 to now beginning training the skill of speaking. It's a training activity, so lots of reps over and over again, translating lots of sentences. This is your entry point into what will come next, which are conversations. And let's discuss that here in a minute. So pillar 3 is about now taking this practice that we've established around translating sentences after doing it over and over again. Typically, in that pillar number 2, again, I may have mentioned, it starts after some knowledge that is gained in pillar number 1 and continues for quite a long time, ultimately until you get into the pillar 4 range. But the translation practice is critical, right? Because it helps you build toward longer dialogue and speech. And this is what happens in pillar number 3. This is conversation practice. Pillar 3, much like Pillar 2, is made available via technology and artificial intelligence. In fact, Pillar 3 is really artificial intelligence. In my case, the technology I use for this is ChatGPT in its speaking capacity. So everybody knows of this technology of artificial intelligence, of typing in things on a computer and seeing things come back to you in natural language. A lot of people don't realize it also works equally as well in a verbal form, right? So it speaks. You can speak to artificial intelligence and have it come right back to you, real-time dialogue. There's ways to ease your way into it via dictate function, but it's a way to begin practicing conversation. So think of pillar 3, it's conversation practice. Practice, and this happens in pillar 2 and in pillar 3, happens alone. You need to work on this, just like practicing a guitar or the violin or a musical instrument. You do it by yourself. You understand your objective, you have exercises to work on, you do this over and over again until you get better, ultimately to where you can perform. But performance happens in pillar number 4. Pillar 3, again, driven largely by artificial intelligence. Think of this as speaking with robots that don't have emotion. There's a whole lot of benefits by being able to execute this pillar, but it's super important, right? You've got the knowledge from pillar 1. Pillar 2 has allowed you to break down and start to think in full sentences about how you communicate in another language. Pillar 3 then takes all of those sentences that you've been translating and practicing for a long period of time and allows you to start practicing this in a format that is non-threatening. There's no humans involved. You're just simply speaking and you're hearing back to you dialogue in response to what you say, and you do it again. And there's a lot of technology involved in this, but it's powerful. It's what prepares you for what's to come in pillar number 4. And finally, let's move into pillar number 4. Pillar number 4 is nirvana. It's where we're all trying to achieve. It's what everyone starts with in mind when they think about speaking, which is you're speaking with others. You're just having fluid, natural conversation. Imagine this dialogue that I'm conveying as I record this, doing it in Spanish, and hearing somebody ask me questions, and I come back, and it's conversation. We all know what conversation is. It's what we strive to achieve. I can tell you that's pillar 4. Pillar 4 happens quite a ways out. Let's go back, review real quick. Pillar 1, we're learning the language. We're learning the basic fundamentals. It's a fundamental study required. to move to stage 2, which happens at some point. The learning continues throughout, but pillar number 2 starts the translation practice. It's completing full sentences, thoughts in your target language, which is Spanish in this case. Pillar 3 then takes those sentences and puts them in the form of dialogue, conversation. It strings them together. Now you're talking in paragraphs about a topic, and you're going on, and you're getting feedback, and you're responding. Pillar 4 then says, now, because we've done the practice, training the skill of speaking in pillars 2 and 3, when you get to pillar 4, performance, it's with others. Now we're achieving a set objective, right? We're now in pillar 4, and that's where we're getting to. And look, there's always learning to be had, even in pillar 4. Although it's real, you're still always tweaking and learning. Again, there's elements of all of the other previous 3 pillars that occur when you're in pillar 4. The practice doesn't stop if you want to elevate your game and become better at communication. There's always different and nuanced ways to communicate. But that, in essence, is what pillar 4 is all about. In resumen, or to summarize, look, cada pilar, each pillar, representa un elemento fundamental, represents a fundamental element in el camino hacia la fluidez, the path to fluency. Foundational study, translation practice, conversation practice, and ultimately dialogue with others, real dialogue. All of these pillars are super important. There's overlap between them, but they fundamentally support how you ultimately achieve fluency in the language. And it's really hard to get from here to here without these missing 2 pillars, which, and I say missing, it's missing. Rarely do these occur. These are made possible with the use of technology and artificial intelligence. I have a methodology that I have used and helped me gain that fluency, and that is the basis of the Calistan method that I've created, which is the 2 pillars in the middle. The practice around translating sentences and the practice around conversations. This is technology. It's spaced repetition learning. There's a platform to assist and automate and augment and expedite the process of learning how to translate sentences. Pillar 3 is about using AI, really real-time artificial intelligence dialogue via ChatGPT in my case, to have conversations, to practice. These things happen because and are rooted in technology. They get you from starting out over here, foundational study, which everyone does and everyone wants to get here. These 2 pillars are really what makes it happen. But those are essentially the 4 pillars, and I hope this has helped you understand a framework and really the expectations and what's required, and the fact that this doesn't happen overnight, but it's absolutely achievable. But you gotta understand, you gotta have expectations. You need the supporting pillars to help you get there. Thank you.